Well, good evening, everyone. We are excited that you are here. So excited that we get to be doing something almost normal. Having a parent meeting and talking about a trip is something that's been a while since we've done. And I know Barbara and Chris and I are all so excited to have the opportunity to do this and provide this incredible opportunity for our students as we look into the future and forward. I have to admit, it's been a little bit strange to come back down here into the basement and to get everything set up to do this online thing. It's been really, really great to be with the kids, to teach the kids in person, and haven't had to deal with this whole Zoom Teams environment for so long. So as I came down here tonight, I thought to myself, oh man, I hope I remember how to do this. But so far it sounds like you're hearing me and you can see me, and so I think I still got it. Hopefully you enjoyed the beautiful sights and sounds of a live stream of the Magic Kingdom as we were waiting to come into this meeting. And so one of the things I want to make sure I do is, besides welcome everyone to come to the meeting tonight, is let you know that the purpose of tonight's meeting is purely informational. You're not going to be asked to sign anything tonight. You're not going to be asked to make a decision tonight. We have a representative from Bright Spark Tour Company that is going to speak with us tonight and give you the presentation to explain to you about what our tour and our trip is going to look like. And then she is going to stay with us and be able to answer any questions you may have. And in fact, one of the things that I love about this particular situation that we're in right now with this is I'm actually going to turn the meeting over to her. And so I don't even have to like monitor or do anything. I'm going to let Chris run it. And so in just a moment, you're going to meet, I got to pull her up here. You're going to meet Chris, and Chris is our representative from Bright Spark. And like I said, she is going to be able to take us through all of this. So Chris, thank you very, very much. She's on East Coast time, everybody. And so it's nice that she was able to join us at 10 o'clock p.m. her time. But we are excited that she is going to be able to give us the information we're looking for tonight. So I'm going to turn this meeting over to her and let her take it and run with it. So Chris, you're up.
Okay. I am Chris Lose, and I'm the consultant that's been working with the directors at Ferris to bring the Orlando trip to life and make it a reality for all of you. And I'll be working with you from start to finish. So at the end of the meeting today, I'm going to share my contact information with you, and I'll be your person. So if you need things that are trip related, or if you have questions, you can fire an email at me, or you can give me a call. So first things first, just a little housekeeping. I'm going to go through a lot of information today, and you're probably going to have questions, but the questions are probably going to get answered. So if you could hold off on asking them either in the chat or during the meeting until we're done, that would be helpful, because it'll just be a little bit less distracting for me. And then also, if you could make sure that you're on mute, that will also help prevent the echo thing that happens when you're not. But other than that, I think we're all set to get started. So I'm going to share my screen with you so that you can see the presentation. And then if you've got your phone handy, I'm going to suggest that you take a couple screenshots or photos with your phone as we go through, because there's a couple slides that have some information that's particularly pertinent. So that's how, oh, I need to be the host, Mr. B.
All right, let's see here. Oh, where's my cursor? Okay, let me get that up here for you in just a second.
Oh, somebody's saying that the meeting is maxed out at 100 participants. Is that true?
Yeah, I'm seeing that, and I don't know how to fix that, so I will work on that. That might be beyond my ability, but I will see what I can do. Hold on a second.
Okay.
Let me get you hosting first, and then I'll go from there. I hope.
Bear with us. We're trying.
Sorry. Yeah, the problem is I am a Teams person, unfortunately. So that makes it. Okay, let's see if we can do this. Boom. See if that worked for you, Chris. Go ahead.
Okay. How's that? Can you see my screen? Give me a thumbs up if you can. Great. Okay. Let me drag you guys over here so I can kind of see you while we're working. Okay, so.
Hey, Chris, I don't mean to interrupt, but if you could just start this meeting recording, then I can send it out to the parents.
I can do
Because I
that.
can't do that now that you're the host.
Record. Okay, we are recording.
Great, thank you.
Sure. Okay, so today's meeting is about the Ferris Orlando trip. This is spring 2022, so we're talking about something that is about a year away. We're going to go through a quick overview of the itinerary today, some health and safety details from Bright Spark, how to enroll in the tour if you make the decision to join us, the cancellation policies and refund guarantee protection that's included on your tour. And then when I'm done with all of that stuff, we'll have time for questions, and you're going to have my attention, and you can ask as many questions as you need to ask at the end. Okay, so here's the first slide that I'm going to say, maybe you should take a picture of it or a screenshot if you can, because it's got kind of the nitty-gritty details of your itinerary. You're departing from Spokane on March 30th and coming home April 6th. And basic inclusions on the trip, you're going to have 3 days in the parks of Walt Disney World, 2 days in the parks at Universal Orlando Resort. Each ensemble is getting its own performance at Disney, and then the instrumentalists are going to have their own workshop, and the vocalists will have their own workshop. So instrumentalists will all be grouped together for the workshop. You're going to be visiting NASA Kennedy Space Center on the coast and the beach, as well as a beach barbecue, which will be so great for the kids, and a lot more. So we're going to get to some more of the details here in a minute. Some reasons to go on this trip. Performance travel is a very special part of your child's high school career. It's going to be one of the things that is the highlight of their high school experience, especially after everything we've been through. To kind of get back to normal and get back to travel is really exciting. And I often say, I was a band director for many years, and I often say that, you know, the kids that go on this trip, you know, they leave as being members of the band or members of the choir, but they come back as the band kids and the choir kids and the orchestra kids. They have inside jokes they didn't have before. They have stronger friendships. They have better empathy for one another and just a deeper bond, especially the roommates and the people that are sitting next to each other on the long plane rides and stuff. You know, you're going to find that your child really identifies with the ensemble that they're in when they come home from this trip, even more so than before they left. And as a mom, as well as a music educator, I could talk about that all day, but I'm not going to. Okay, so some health and safety details. You are going to have 2 tour directors on this trip, and that's because of the size of the group. Typically, we would include at least 1, but you're going to have 2 so that we can facilitate a group your size. You're going to be at the hotel. You're going to have a nighttime security guard, several nighttime security guards that are going to roam the hallway overnight. This serves multiple purposes, you know, one of which is your group is a considerable size and you're going to take up a good chunk of the hotel. So we want to make sure that nobody who isn't with your group is roaming around in the hallways where they don't belong, because you're going to occupy an entire hallway, probably multiple hallways. And so there shouldn't be anybody that's not with Ferris roaming around at 2 o'clock in the morning. And that's why the guards are there. And now I know that at Ferris High School, there isn't a single child that would ever consider leaving their room in the middle of the night or trying to get away with anything. That's not a thing that would ever happen here. But occasionally at other schools, it happens. So the guard is also there just in case, you know, someone would want to leave their room or do something they shouldn't be doing. And it allows the chaperones to sleep. So if you're chaperoning this trip, you will not have overnight chaperone duty because we have overnight security. Your tour is going to have 24-hour support hotline. You can see the young lady that's wearing the lanyard there. Every student on the tour gets that lanyard, and the card has an 800 number on it. So if they're involved, if they have any kind of emergency, no matter what time of the day or night, they can call that number and they would get a live person on the phone who's going to spring into action right away and help handle that emergency. Whatever it might be, the first person that gets contacted is one of the tour directors. And from there, you know, the directors will get contacted, and then if needed, the parents. But the emergency could be anything from, you know, somebody sprained their ankle and, you know, can't figure out what to do next, or they got separated from a chaperone group, or, you know, there's a fire drill at the hotel at 2 o'clock in the morning. It could be anything like that. So the emergency hotline is there in case we have a participant that's in need of immediate assistance. All of the hotels and motor coach companies subject to extensive audits. Now, obviously, you're going to be at Walt Disney World, and we use their hotel properties and their activities, their parks, and their resorts provide very high quality venues for groups. Motor coach companies are subject to regular audits and site visits to make sure that they are complying with all the maintenance and everything they have to do to keep their coaches in good working order. Your trip includes trip delay insurance. And this is especially helpful for groups that are flying like yours, because we are going to be, having that extra variable of getting on probably multiple planes and coming to Orlando. So in the event that your trip is delayed by, like, let's say a significant weather event on the way to Orlando. So trip delay insurance is going to help us kind of recover your itinerary if we can, rearrange things if we can, and make sure that you have support as things might change. And then on the back end, if you get delayed departing, making sure that, Mr. B isn't pulling out his credit card and trying to charge, 90 hotel rooms in Orlando at the last minute or something. You have that support and that protection already in your tour. So we're going to help make sure the kids are safe and they have a place to stay in the event that something like that were to happen. Health and accident insurance is included for everyone. I always recommend whenever you travel that you bring a copy of your insurance card. If you do have medical insurance, then the Bright Spark policy acts as a secondary coverage. So bring your medical insurance information, and then, our coverage kicks in on the back end, of course. You see two links here for Doctors on Call and for COVID-19. I am going to share those links with you in the chat when I'm done. Doctors on Call is a telehealth appointment if it were to become necessary. We've got somebody in the waiting room here. If it were to become necessary, if a participant becomes sick or injured on tour and needs the advice of a medical professional, the tour director can get in touch with Doctors on Call and get that participant in front of a medical professional so that they can get the proper advice and guidance on what the next steps should be. And I'll share that information with you, as I said, when we're done in the chat. We have a page on our website of updated protocols for COVID-19. I'm also going to share that with you in the chat. Obviously, we hope by next spring we're not talking about this still, but if we are, then the information about what is happening ahead of the tour and during the tour is going to be on that page. You are welcome to visit that page today and tomorrow and every week if you want to until departure. Every time there's some kind of updated information that informs what we do in response as a travel company, we're going to update that page. So what you see today will not be the same thing you see 6 months from now. And it frankly isn't really that relevant until we get pretty close to departure, because at that point, I'm going to be sharing with the directors and with you all if there are specific protocols that are in place and extra things you need to do before we depart on the tour. Okay, so let's talk about the inclusions on the trip. This is helpful information for everyone, and I'm just going to rattle through it, but you can get a copy of the itinerary from the directors if you'd like. So for meals, there are 2 meals per day included, and the only exception to that is the day that you arrive and the day that you go home. On the day that you arrive, there's only 1 meal included, and it's dinner. And then the day that you leave, the only meal that's included is breakfast. Now, this is quite a long tour. I would recommend, as the mom, on one of these trips, I would recommend that you send about $20 a day extra, because 2 meals a day is covered, and $20 inside the theme park is probably sufficient to get your child that 3rd meal. So, and you can obviously, if it were me and it's my family, I'm going to make my kid earn the money. If I'm sending money with them that's extra, that's up to you, but that's how I would run it in my household. There would be lawn mowing and laundry and all of that. So there are some meals that are going to be at your own expense. You are going to be staying at a Disney Value Resort. We currently don't know which Disney Value Resort, and that is because of COVID. Several of the Disney Value Resorts are closed at this time. We don't expect that to still be the case in the spring, but right now we don't know which ones are going to open when. And so you do have rooms reserved, but they are kind of like reserving everything in a hopper and allocating them later as the resorts reopen and all of that. So as soon as we have that information, you will have it from us. For activities, you have a 3-day park hopper pass to Walt Disney World. And I imagine there's going to be some restrictions on park hopping in terms of the teachers and the chaperones and how that's all going to work. But you are able to go park to park during the day. You have admission to the NASA Kennedy Space Center. You have 2 days at Universal, and Universal Orlando Resort, the two parks are smushed together, and you can walk back and forth. So you can go park to park with your ticket at Universal, and it's very easy to get from park to park. It's not like Walt Disney World. If you're in Epcot and something happens and your chaperone is in Magic Kingdom, that's like a 60 minutes minimum, but that's not the case at Universal. Performances, as I said, for each ensemble, and then workshops for vocalists and then instrumentalists. You are going to visit Cocoa Beach, so you're going to need a bathing suit, and there's going to be a beach barbecue there as well. Transportation, airfare is included, and then while you're in Orlando, motor coaches will be provided when you're going to and from anywhere you need to go. Besides park hopping, you won't have access to motor coaches for park hopping, but when you're leaving the hotel as a group and coming back as a group, you'll have a coach. You have 2 tour directors on the trip, and then all tips and gratuities are included in the tour price. So, and taxes as well. So, if you're eating together, as a whole entire group, or if like food is being delivered, like the gratuity is already in the price that you're paying. You don't need to worry about anything like that. Also not tipping the tour directors and the motor coach company because that's already been done as well. Okay, here's another slide I would recommend taking a picture of because this is the financial side of things, and it might be helpful information for everybody that's going to have the discussion about joining the trip. So the total per person, and this is the student price, is $22.98 for quad occupancy. Quad occupancy means there's going to be 2 beds in the hotel room, but there will be 4 people in the room. And that's the default for students. So when you go to register on the tour and you select, register my child, that's the price that's going to pop up. The price is based on 200 paying participants, which is what we are thinking is going to happen with your group. If the number of participants changes, then the price may change as well. And we're gonna, obviously, we have plenty of time, so we're gonna continue to recruit for the trip as long as possible. The tour price includes refund guarantee protection, which I'm gonna talk about in a minute. And that is, it is a policy that acts kind of like travel insurance. It allows the tour or an individual to be canceled from the tour up to the day of departure and receive a full refund of the tour price minus the cost of RGP. And in this case, the cost of RGP is $168. So that is the non-refundable piece. And that is also the size of the deposit. So the initial deposit is due June 1st of this year. And it is the cost of RGP, that $168. I'm sorry, I was looking at your email, Mr. B there. We need to have time for Ron John's surf shop. I think that can happen.
Oh yeah, for sure. That's very important.
I think that can happen. Okay, so obviously, let's talk about the way that payments are made in our system. If you were to go on today and make your deposit, then today's the 22nd of April. Each payment would be due about the 22nd of each month. And if you put $168 in your account, the system is going to automatically calculate monthly installments from now until the last payment is due. You can put any amount in your account, and then the system is going to recalculate those payments based on the size of the deposit. Does that make sense to everybody? So if you wait until June 1st to register, there are fewer months between now and when the last payment is due than there would be if you registered today. So keep that in mind, like the monthly installment thing, the longer you wait, the larger the monthly payments will be because there are less of them between now and when you travel. We also recognize that due to COVID, or maybe not due to COVID, flexible payments are sometimes necessary. So if a monthly payment schedule doesn't work for you and you need something else, you need a little bit more grace, you need a little bit more time, you need an extension on the payment plan, something like that, you can call customer support. I'm going to share that number with you, and they can help you figure out what plan makes sense in terms of payments. So don't be afraid to give them a call. If you go to register and you see what the monthly payments are and you just know that's not going to be realistic for you, start by calling customer support. The worst that can happen is they don't have anything for you, but they do have quite a few options in terms of extended payment plans for those that need them. Okay, how to register. This is another one I would take a picture of because this is the secure tour web code. So you're going to visit portal.brightsparktravel.com, and I'll share the link in the chat when we're done. And then when you create your account, you're going to enter your email address, your name, and all of that. And then it's going to say, enter your tour web code. And this is your tour web code, TUK7WLC. And that tour web code, as soon as you've entered that, the price will pop up. You'll finish the registration process, and then it'll ask you for payment. You aren't confirmed on the tour until you make the payment. So if you do everything up to the payment, but then you don't make the payment, the system's going to automatically cancel you out after 24 hours. That does not mean anything, except you're going to get a scary email saying that you're canceled. You're not. You could go back in and make the payment later. You could re-register for the tour. It's not as big a deal as it looks like it is, but some people get scared away when they see, oh, they've been canceled and now they can't go. And that's not true. I will say, when it comes to visiting the portal website, we have had some IT issues with Android phones recently, where it won't, the amount due will not populate correctly. So if that happens to you, if you're trying to register for the tour on a smartphone and you get like a weird amount, like it's telling you that you need to pay $700 or some ridiculous amount of money, try a laptop or a desktop or something, because that Android phone sometimes will just glitch out, and they're trying to do a workaround, but that is an issue we know about already. The tour is first come, first serve. As I mentioned, there are 200 spots available. Once we hit 200 spots, the 201st person that tries to register for the trip is going to get put on a wait list. And the wait list will be time stamped. So if we have a cancellation, then we'll invite a person off based on when they tried to register for the tour. If there are fundraising money, if there's fundraising money that comes in from the music department, the directors are going to mail us a check, and that check included in the envelope will be a list of who gets what amount of money, and our accounting department will apply it. That process can take 2 to 4 weeks. So if you do like a butter braid fundraiser or something like that, and your child sells $100 in butter braids, don't expect to see the money in your account the next day, because it has to make its way through snail mail all the way across the country to Charlottesville, Virginia, and then get processed and then get put in your account. So it takes a little bit of time, but it will happen. We don't keep a cut of fundraising money or anything like that. If your child raises $100 and $100 is sent to us, $100 goes in their account. Help Me Travel is a link I'm also going to share with you here at the end. It is kind of like a GoFundMe. So once you're registered for the tour, up at the top, you'll have a Help Me Travel link. If you click it, it will generate a secure link that you can share on social media or via email with friends and family across the country, and they can donate to your child's trip. If grandma donates $100, your child gets $100. We don't keep a cut, and there are no fees attached to that service. So if you're like me and you've got family kind of scattered to the wind and they're looking for birthday presents or Christmas presents to give to your child, this is a great option. Also, just, you know, if they want to do a little extra work, a few extra chores for, you know, aunt and uncle and whatever, and they are able to earn some money, Help Me Travel is a great way for those family members to donate. We also have sort of an appendix to our terms and conditions called World Class Flexibility. I'm going to share that link with you in the chat as well when we're done. It doesn't, not a lot of it applies to you, frankly, because you've included refund guarantee protection on the tour, which is a much better deal than the things that that we are advertising in terms of extra flexibility for groups. I will say that if your tour needs, if we get close to departure and we need to make a change, like we need to change dates, or we maybe need to change destinations or something like that, we all know that the world can kind of turn on a dime, and we're hoping that doesn't happen. But if it were to happen, we are offering the ability for groups to change their dates and destination up to 45 days before departure without any penalties at all. The only difference might be the actual cost of the tour, of the two different tours, if you change destinations or something like that. But we're doing everything we can to make sure that you could be confident traveling with us, and by including RGP in the tour, your investment is protected no matter what, obviously. Okay, RGP we talked about a little bit. If the tour is canceled at any time for any reason, every penny spent on the trip payment will be returned to you. The only amount that BrightSpark is going to retain is the cost of that protection, which is $168. And it's good right up until the moment the tour departs. This is a very smart inclusion. You can look at the chart at the bottom, and these are our terms and conditions. So up to 81 or more days before departure, without RGP, there would be a 15% of the tour cost that would be like a penalty for cancellation. And then as you can see, the closer you get to departure, the higher that penalty is until you're 45 days before departure. And then there's no refund due, because at that point we have paid all the bills and all the tickets have been bought and everything is done. So that RGP really is a very good protection for everybody. Okay, let's see here. Okay, and this is the customer support information. So as I mentioned, if you are somebody that thinks you're going to need one of those flexible payment plans, or if you're someone who maybe is a little bit technology challenged and you're not sure that you can make the registration happen on the portal, or you just want to have that as an insurance policy for questions, you can call them or email them and they'll be happy to help you. A lot of friends in that department, and they're very good people. They're here to help. They're in the office 8 to 5 Central Time. So that's 2 hours later than you. And so if you think you need that, go ahead and take a photo of it. And then before we start with questions, I am going to spam the chat now. Let me stop sharing my screen here so that I can. Okay. So first I'm going to share with you my contact information. Oops. Let me talk to everyone instead of just one person. Okay, so my contact information for you, and you are welcome to contact me. I will tell you, one of the things I can't do is look at your credit card information or your specific financial details. So if the question you have is related to payments or registrations or anything like that, you are better off calling customer support. What I can answer is like, what's included in the tour? When are we going? Where will we be on this day? You know, things that are itinerary related or trip related or inclusion related, I'm your girl. If it's payment related, I'm probably not your girl. Here is the link for Doctors on Call, for those of you that want more details about that. Here is the link to the RGP information, Refund Guarantee Protection. Okay, we also have a safety and security page on our website, which is more information about what we do to keep travelers safe each and every day. Let's see, we also have the updated protocols for COVID-19. This is the page that gets updated every single time there's a change. So what you see today will not be the same thing you see in a few months. Here is the information on Help Me Travel. Here is the information on world-class flexibility. Okay, and then finally, the most important detail is the portal link and the tour web code for registering for the tour. Okay, and I saw a question as I was kind of rattling through that. Are the kids able to get fast passes? So the fast pass situation right now at Walt Disney World is there are none. They have not reinstated fast passes post-COVID. We do expect that that's going to happen, but we don't have any direct information about what it's going to look like or what the new policy will be. If their new policy with fast passes, you know, if the trend is any indication, it seems like Disney is taking this opportunity to do a lot of overhaul on things that weren't quite perfect. And so I think we can expect changes over what it used to be. We just don't know what those are yet. This concludes the presentation. So if you have questions, I would prefer maybe that we do those through the chat, just because there's so many of us in here right now. But if you want to just go ahead and fire through on the chat, I will answer them as I can. What is the pricing for chaperones? So paying chaperones are in double occupancy as a default, and the price is $25.98. That is 2 beds per room and 2 people per room, so you'd have your own bed. If you do have a group of 4 chaperones that would prefer quad occupancy, you can get the student rate, but you have to call customer support to get it, and you have to have all 4 of you already registered for the tour in order to take care of that. What if you have paid for the whole trip, but then have money earned to offset the cost? So if you pay for the whole trip and then later on there's fundraising money that's applied, what's going to happen in your account is it's going to show an overpayment. When the trip returns home and everybody is traveled and everybody's safe back in their own beds, our accounting department is going to reconcile the accounts. And then at that point, you would get refunded for an overpayment. You won't see that refund until after the trip comes home, but it will happen. We don't keep money that isn't ours. That would not be fair. How many chaperones will be needed and what will be the selection process? That is not a Bright Spark question. So do you want to take that?
I think one of the things that we talked about was we're going to kind of put that number in the ballpark of 40 adults traveling. We'll see what happens. If we get to the point where we're starting to have the amount of kids wanting to go exceed the number of spots we have available, that's something that Chris and Barbara and Chris and I can talk about, of how we would use that space and how we'd be able to do that. Basically right now, I would say chaperones are chosen based on if you sign up or not. There really isn't a selection process other than that at this point in the game. So that's basically how I would answer that.
Okay.
How many students are there in the Ferris Music Program? Ballpark, depending year to year, but we're probably in the ballpark of 375 to 400.
Okay.
In the whole program.
So just clarifying for my understanding, can we cancel up until departure and get a full refund except RGP? Yes, that is the case. Up until departure, you can cancel. Also, if the tour gets canceled, RGP is gonna kick in at that point as well. Let's see, when is the last payment due? Let me look. January 14th is the last payment. And are we able to go over 200? So if there are more than 200 people that register, as I mentioned, there'll be a wait list. We are able to go over 200. However, once we order that next motor coach, we have to fill it. And so like our goal is going to be then to wait until the wait list is large enough that when we order that next motor coach, it doesn't affect everyone else's price. The last thing we would want is if we have 201 people or whatever it is, we have to order that next motor coach, but there's only one person on it, theoretically, because then everyone else has to pay for that motor coach expense and it's out of control. So the goal would be if we need to order another motor coach that we can fill it. And so the wait list could get quite large before we make that decision. Can dual parents chaperone? I'm assuming that this is like a married couple that wants to chaperone. Is that true, Rachel? My answer would be yes, you can. And then when it comes time to do the rooming list, if you want to room together, that's not going to be an issue. Yes. So do chaperones sign up on the same site, same way as the students? Yes, they do. So when you go to the portal, one of the buttons you can click is register myself, which is you as the adult. And the other button says register my child, which is your student. If you click register myself, then you fill out your own information. And then when you try to register as someone who is over the age of 18, it's going to assume that you're an adult and give you the adult double occupancy price.
To kind of clarify a little bit about numbers as far as how many people were going, one of the things that Chris and Barbara and I don't really know is what this is going to look like. And most of that is because of the, hopefully I can say this, the heading towards post-COVID situation. We really have no idea how many people want to go. I know when the band went to Orlando and did this same trip 6 years ago, we had about 160 total people. I think we had 97 students, and the rest was adults. And so that kind of, considering that we kind of use that as kind of the stepping off point to basically, we could have as many as maybe 100 more between the orchestra and the choir, we don't know. And so that is how we came up with that 200 number. So really, truly, if we get to that point where we've hit 200 and it keeps climbing and we get into that 250 ballpark, then we're really, really looking good for adding that fifth coach, and we're going to be just fine. So we'll definitely be monitoring that as we go, because it's, and also understand too, that if we don't hit that 200, we'll work to price adjust the trip, and that may include an adjustment to the itinerary so we don't have to price up the trip. And so those are all things that are the variables based on how many people go.
Right, and we can do things like adjust inclusions and all of when if it comes to that, if we end up with not quite 100 or 200 people. As far as, let's see here, can extras go like a sibling? You know, my default response to that question is let's hold off on siblings because we want to make sure that there's enough room for all the students that want to go on the trip. This is a student trip for music department kids. However, it is likely that there's going to be space. We'll see. How many are signed up so far? So this meeting is the first time that everyone has had access to the information for signing up for the trip. So I see right now, hang on, it keeps updating. And I'm kind of keeping an eye on it here as we go. It looks like 3 are confirmed and there's a whole bunch that are pending, which means people are creating accounts and going through the process, but they aren't deposited yet. Okay, if I already have money in my Ferris Music account for the San Francisco trip, how do we transfer that to this trip? So you're going to go create an account and you're going to register for the trip and you're going to put the deposit down and then, you know, contact the music director for whatever ensemble that you're in, explain the situation. They can mail us a check to cover whatever it is, and we will apply it to your student's account. That process takes a bit, so the sooner it happens, then the more likely it is that there's not going to be a monthly installment in the in-between time. Because as you sign up for the trip, you're going to be asked to do that monthly installment unless you call customer service and have it turned off. So 200 total students and adults at the moment. That is correct. The tour is currently capped at 200. We will see what happens. And I'm going to be in contact with the directors once a week for the duration here as registrations are rolling in so that we're all clear on what's happening and we're updating each other on the status of things. So we're going to keep a very close eye on the registrations and make sure that we're on the ball as the wait list rolls in if that's a thing that happens. What exactly does a chaperone do? So you're going to have an assigned group of kids and you're going to have to check in with them. And there's going to be a specific set of duties. There might be like making sure that those kids are on the bus when they're supposed to be on the bus and notifying the directors if they're not. Making sure they have everything they need for the day. Making sure that they are in the correct room at the end of the night when it's time for lights out. And then just checking in with them throughout the day. There could be like, you know, selfie check-ins or in-person check-ins or things like that. Just to make sure that they're okay. And then if somebody needs to visit the health center at Disney or something to get Band-Aids or, you know, hasn't any kind of issue, you know, you're probably going to be the one that's most tuned into that group of, you know, 6 or 7 or 10 kids or whatever it is. And they kind of become your kids during the trip. So it has sort of like the little family feel too, which is nice. Yes, Jason, not a question. Is the water There is not a water park part of the trip, but you will be visiting the beach. So you'll have that day, and the hotel does have a pool. Now, whatever restrictions are going to get placed on that, I'm not sure. Quite a few of the Disney Valley resorts have multiple pools, though. Are the kids going to be separated by choir band, and will they be with the class they go to school with? That is a teacher question.
The answer to that question is no. We'll let the kids sign up to room how they want to. The only time we really need to be separated by band, orchestra, choir is when we perform or when we're in workshop. Otherwise, we are just one big, massive group of humanity.
Tag on to that. One orchestra, one choir, and one band. We're not all the little groups.
Yeah. I realize there are variables, but what is the worst case scenario for a price increase? Is there a cap on the increase amount? So a tour like this has a bunch of shared costs on the tour. You're paying for things like your tour director, you're paying for like the motor coaches, which is one we've already talked about, but that's the most relevant or the one that's easiest to understand. And so like if you think of motor coaches having 50 seats on it, and then you divide the cost of chartering that coach by 50 people, everybody's paying a very small fraction of that larger cost. If we're only dividing the cost by 20 people, everyone's paying a much larger piece of the pie. So no, there's no cap on it, but I will say like for every person that we're under that 200 mark, you know, it can be anywhere from like $5 to $8 because we're having to redivide those costs every time it's fewer. And the other variables would be like, how many hotel rooms are we using, right? Like if you have 16 boys, that divides evenly and you're using 4 hotel rooms. But if you have 17 boys, that 17th boy is causing us to get a whole nother hotel room. So that, you know, it goes back and forth, and it will fluctuate until we settle on a number of participants. All right, Typhoon Lagoon, available on the last day. It is not, that is a different type of Disney ticket, which is not part of your package. Any ideas, student to chaperone ratio at the moment? No, because we have no idea how many adults are gonna sign up. So we're gonna wait and see on that. I don't think it's usually not more than 10, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I think we're pretty safe. If we have 30 adults go, we'll be at 6 to 1. Well, 6.6 repeating to 1. So we're going to be in good shape. The district at high school level, for a trip like this, the school district would like us to be 10 to 1, and I think we'll be better than that. So I'm not worried about that for sure.
All right. Where do we sign up to be a chaperone? You visit that portal website that I shared with you in the link, and you register for the tour. You don't need to wait to be selected. You just do your thing. When is all the money due? So the deposit is due June 1st, and then the monthly installments will happen between now and the middle of January. The final payment is due in January. Can the kids perform with both the band and the choir if they participate in both? So yes, you can. In the past, Disney has charged what they call a crossover fee for a second experience. So if that applies to your child and that's a thing we are doing, then we can talk about those crossover fees, and it can get added to your account. I want to say in the past it's been like $30 or $40 or something like that. Disney considers it an extra experience, and so they have to pay for that extra experience. But if your kid is only in one ensemble, they don't have to pay any extra. All right. January 14th is when all the trip need to be paid. When will the kids pick their rooms? About 60 days before departure, you'll get the rooming list, and you'll need to be choosing roommates. So this is very far in the future. We don't need to worry about rooming right now. Can you explain fundraising options, please? I think that's a you question, Mr. B.
We will be doing fundraisers through FMPA like we used to do back in the old days when we had normal things going on. But we'll get that all set up and get that information start to roll out to all the parents about the different things you can do. The biggest thing I would suggest right now is getting connected to the script program, because you can be making money right now on that. And we can give you information on that. In fact, I can write myself a note to send the script information in the packet that I'm going to send all this information to us tonight. All of that's going to go out tomorrow in email to all of you. It's going to have all of these links, all of the stuff that Chris put into the chat, so you can see all of that. Included in that will be a itinerary. It's not necessarily a detailed hour by hour itinerary, but it's what we're doing each day type itinerary. So you can see that along with a parent letter that Bright Spark has for us. So it will have all that information available to us. So I will write on here to include script information, and then be looking for that from FMPA.
Right. All right. So if you missed anything, or if you came in late, or if you're not sure you got all the information, look out for that email and you'll have it. You mentioned 2 parks at Universal. Isn't one of these a water park? Well, Universal has 3 parks, and one of them is a water park. They have Volcano Bay Water Park. You will have access to Universal Studios Orlando and Islands of Adventure, both of which have segments of the Harry Potter world, and both of which have roller coasters and movie stuff. And 2 days in those parks will be enough to see most of the things and ride most of the things, and you're gonna have a great time. Universal is one of my favorite places.
The couple of water rides that are in Universal you will get fully drenched.
Yeah, if it's hot, you're going to have a way to cool off.
My daughter really wanted to get wet, and so she came and found me, because the kids she was hanging out with when she went they were a bunch of pansies and didn't want to get wet. So Ellie and I just went on water ride after water ride, and we were drenched. The Popeye ride, oh my gosh, you get so wet. So it's like a water park.
Yeah, and Disney has a couple of those too. In fact, they're in the middle of refurbishing the oh my goodness, I know I can't think of it. It's a mountain.
Splash Mountain.
Yeah, they're refurbishing that. There are 3 parks. Can a link be put up in the chat? I came in late. Look for that email tomorrow. Could we see a mock-up of a schedule for the days? Look for that email tomorrow. Do you have options for dietary restrictions? So when you register for the tour, one of the boxes that you need to fill out says special needs. please indicate your dietary restrictions in there. I will say that most of the meals that are being included in your tour are meal cards. Like it's like a meal money allowance that has like a Disney logo on it, and it's good for cash at whatever location, and same with Universal. So it is going to be sort of, the onus is going to be mostly on the kid to know what they can and can't eat, and to get like, you know, to make sure that we have put that information in their hands, and also that they are being proactive about where they can go and what they can eat. There are a couple of exceptions to that. I think you have a boxed meal on the first day, so we can accommodate dietary restrictions for that. Just, we need to know about them ahead of time. I have a question for Mr. Ulrich. Will we be playing any Disney music when we perform? Says Nicole.
That's on my to-do list for summer. I'll be looking over lots of music during that time. So
I have 2 kids with asthma, and I had a few questions. If you would like to stay after we release everybody, if you'd like to stay and ask questions, you may. You can also send those to me in an email using my contact information, and then I can get back to you privately if you prefer to do that. Okay. I see no other questions. You are welcome to ask more questions if you have them. If you are satisfied with the information and you have nothing else, you are welcome to hop off and enjoy the rest of your evening. It was nice to see everybody.
Thank you, Chris. Like, we'll hang out and wait till everyone's gone. So have a great, great evening, and we're really excited about this. Hope to see you soon.
We have 15 on the trip already.
Wow. And that doesn't include Barbara and Chris and I?
No, that